Welcome to the On the Record podcast, Updates and Echoes. I'm Erin Summers with the Pocahontas Record Democrat. We are sponsored this month by Pocahontas Community Hospital. Last week's updates sounded a little too formal to me, so I'm going to try something a little different. I'm not going to read you the news, I just want to tell you about it. I went to a lot of meetings last week. I'll tell you about those in a minute, but first I want to start with something a little bit more fun. About a month ago, I met with someone for an interview. As we were talking, she mentioned that her in-laws had been married for more than 60 years. My ears perked up because I'm always on the lookout for couples who have been married a long, long time that I can write about for a Valentine's Day feature story. When the person I was interviewing reached out to her in-laws to ask if they'd be willing to be interviewed, they weren't opposed to the idea, but her mother-in-law pointed out that the mother-in-law's sister-in-law and brother-in-law, sorry, that's a little confusing, had been married a year longer than she and her husband had been married. She thought maybe I should interview the other couple instead, or maybe I could talk with both of them. Obviously, I chose both of them. And last week, I sat down with Ginny and Harold Olson and Jean and David Peterson at the Olsons' Pomeroy home. They had me in stitches. We had such a good time, and they were so funny. And they had some really great stories about how they met, some of the dates that they went on, and they also gave some advice about good marriages that was really simple and universal. Pick up the paper and read the story. You won't regret it. And then there were all of those meetings. First of all, the Pocahontas City Council sat down and worked out some of the kinks in their schedule and fixed some meeting minutes. So not only do we have a story in this week's paper, but we also have a few meetings worth of minutes that we published. The Pocahontas County Board of Supervisors had its regular meeting, and they talked with Allison Hauser about the state of her work with people in need of mental health care. They also spoke with county department heads about budgetary needs for next year. I was already in the process of writing an article about the impact of the Iowa DOGE recommendations and what impact those recommendations may have on services that are available in rural counties when Pocahontas County Treasurer Amy Johnson brought information about a proposed bill at the state legislature that would hinder her office's ability to invest money in a statewide public trust. This trust investment has made Pocahontas County over $1 million in the last year, and Johnson said if she can't invest as much in it as she's been able to, then the burden goes back to the taxpayers to raise more money to fund the county. And really, the two topics tied together really well, although the story did come out really long in the end. I do think it's worth reading. I mean, I wouldn't have written it if I didn't think it was worth reading, especially if you've ever used the county's offices to register a vehicle or a boat, to get a driver's license, or really and so many other services. A few other fun things in the paper this week include information about a raffle where you could be the first person to spill candy, popcorn, or pop on the Rialto Theater's new carpet. Spills happen, and the folks at the Rialto are using your planned clumsiness to raise money for the Pocahontas swimming pool. There's more in this week's Record Democrat. Sometimes you try something new and it works for a while, and then you realize it isn't working as well anymore. In that vein, Pocahontas' Heritage Days will be moving back to June this year. Read the article in this week's paper to see why and to meet the newest chamber board members. And finally, to toot our own horn a little bit, the RD picked up 6 awards at the state newspaper contest last week. I'm personally most excited about the first place we received for the Pocahontas 155th commemorative book. We have submitted so many special sections over the years and never won in that particular category. To win with that book that everyone in the office worked so hard on and that the community really seemed to love was the kind of affirmation that everyone needs sometimes. If you are looking for things to do this week, the PAC Trendsetters drill team will perform at 7 p.m. Friday at the high school. Boys wrestling districts are Saturday at Ridgeview. The Pocahontas Women's Club is sponsoring a free showing of Grease at the Rialto at 2 p.m. on Saturday. Next week, the PAC girls basketball team will start their postseason play February 17th at Belmont Clemmy. The Newell Fonda boys play OABCIG Thursday, while the girls are at Humboldt on Thursday night. 1A boys postseason play starts February 13th, while 2A starts February 16th. No brackets were available yet. Up next, my coworker Sandy Rutherford will join me for the Echoes part of the show. I dug into the newspaper archives for 2 stories that I found super interesting. Welcome to the Echoes portion of this week's podcast. I thought of a lot of ways to get this started. There are so many things in the paper that I have enjoyed looking at over the years and reading out loud to you and entertaining you.
Yes.
And there were just so many. I was like, I could pull up some of the really funny ads that I found over the years. This week is Valentine's Day. We have a Valentine's Day feature in this week's paper. I could have tried to find some old Valentine's Day stories. But then I thought, what if I just take a really simple route? So I pulled up the first newspaper of February 1926. We went back 100 years, and I was not disappointed by what I found. So first, I'm going to actually hand you a printout, but don't unfold this paper because we have spoilers. I have two different stories, and I don't want Sandy to know what the other one is yet. Okay. But there, we are looking at this one with the picture. So the picture is what we're talking about, and you folks will be able to see the picture as well. The headline reads, "A wonderful homemade clock at Fonda. Third of its kind, produced by Henry J. Meyer of Colfax Township."
Wait, that's a clock?
That's a clock. Yes.
Okay.
Let me read more. First clock produced over 20 years was a model of a locomotive. Second one, a Capitol dome. And honestly, one of the things I really liked about this story was it's such a story that a small town newspaper does. I have not written about clocks, but I have written about model train sets and every other hobby that someone could possibly have. We love to put them on the front page with a picture, and apparently we did 100 years ago as well. So from the article, "Every fellow has a hobby for spending leisure hours. H.J. Myers of Fonda, who resides on Section 29 in Colfax Township, has put his to a very unique and practical use. During the long winter hours for many years, Mr. Myers has busied himself with the construction of a number of unique clocks. The last one just completed a short time ago is shown on this page. In its construction, over 35 feet of solid mahogany was used and trimmed with white holly wood. It took him more than..." Oh, shoot. I don't know what that typo was supposed to say. I copied and pasted straight from the old newspaper online, and sometimes things don't copy very well. But it took him a while to complete the clock, is what we're going to go with, which has many interesting features. "The Seth Thomas clock rings the bells in the towers, strikes the hour gone, and plays a special imported music box." A real quick note here, I had to look up what a Seth Thomas clock was. It was a company that was founded in 1813 and made clocks until 2009. I've never heard of them. Yeah. And technically there's still a company that exists with that name, but they're manufacturing clocks under a different name, I guess. I don't know. So anyway,
long time. "During the hourly music, the statues of the apostles march around, and each hour they take different places. The clock is over 3 feet high and 2 feet wide." Then the newspaper does the thing that I like to do, which is quote from something even older. From the History of Pocahontas County, it's a book that you can also find online and look at. It was written in 1904. They found an article also referring to the first clocks that Meyer built. "Henry J. Meyer, during his spare moments, has made a couple of clocks that are quite ingenious in their construction and novel in their performance. The one is a locomotive, and the other is a Capitol dome. But Mr. Myers has not spent all of his time building clocks. He owns one of the finest farms in Pocahontas County, is an active farm union worker, and has been a school director and township officer for more than 20 years. I don't know. I just thought it was cool. One, the clock looks really cool. I don't know where they are now. I certainly hope someone kept some of these because 3 feet tall and 2 feet wide, or the other way around, it was just really cool.
Yeah, that even in this photo, it looks like it's got to be just so detailed,
so intricate, right? Like I don't know, it was really cool looking. So I was like, this story's great. This is exactly what I love looking in old newspapers for. And then I looked over to the next column, and I'm going to read you the headline, and then you can flip it open.
Okay.
But this the other headline that caught my eye, well, the tone of it and the tone of the story was one that we would not use today. We might talk like this in the newsroom, but we would not use some of this tone actually when I wrote it. And that's one of the things I love about old newspapers. They were real snarky, and they did not hide their opinions at all. And just a historical note, remember that Prohibition, you could not sell or consume alcohol in the United States, lasted from 1920 to 1933. And the headline reads, "Poisoned Hootch proves fatal. Manson man dies from alcohol poisoning." And I shouldn't laugh.
But this story, there is so much to it. So you can flip it open and look at the headline. It's right there in the middle of the paper. And I saw Poison Hooch. And
Hooch.
right? Like, I don't think we'd say Hooch, first of all.
I love it.
And then a note from what I could gather, it says the article was submitted just by someone credited as their Manson correspondent. Now, they don't have bylines on really any of these articles. I don't know who wrote these. So I wish I did, but it was kind of interesting. And then this incident in question started in Pocahontas County, and I will give you my apologies in advance. This Manson writer did not pay attention to lessons about run-on sentences and some punctuation. There's some questionable sentences in here, but let me read. Manson people were shocked last Sunday when the report came that Manson man, Alfred Lundbaum, had been found dead in an automobile at Palmer. Windy was his nickname, had gone to Palmer last Saturday to attend a sale, and when the sale was over, the party he was with wanted him to come home. And from reports, he was brought back to Manson by a traveling man by the name of Essex, who left Palmer about 10:30 in the evening. The
traveling man.
The traveling man parked his car outside of Hotel Long, and this was in Manson, and before going into the hotel, tried to arouse Windy, but to no avail. So he went to the hotel and to bed, leaving Lundbaum outside in the car. When Mr. Essex went to get his car in the morning, Lundbaum was still in it and was in a stupor and could not be wakened. So he drove back to Palmer, and when he arrived there, he called a doctor who pronounced Lundbaum dead. A coroner's inquest was held Sunday evening, and one was also held at Manson Monday morning, and the verdict in both cases was death from alcoholic poisoning. Now here's where it gets really interesting, because I didn't see this coming. Windy had gotten hurt in some way, as one ear was about torn off, and his face and hands were badly bruised. But no one will probably know how he was injured. Instead of being left in a car to sober up, his family or someone should have been notified, and he should have been cared for. Alfred Lundbaum was about 33 years of age and was a son of Mr. and Mrs. Otto Lundbaum of this place, meaning Manson. He was a veteran of the World War and served overseas. After his discharge from the army, he returned to Manson and worked at his trade, the mason work. While in England, he met the lady who became his wife, who, with his parents and sisters, are left to mourn his untimely demise. His sister, Miss Judith, who resides in Seattle, Washington, was immediately notified of his death and arrived here Wednesday evening. But Paul and Gladys, and I think that's a sister and brother-in-law, is my guess, who are also in Seattle, were unable to come to the funeral. Many will miss his witty sayings and his good-natured talks, and it is certainly too bad that one so young should be taken so suddenly in the prime of life. His brothers and sisters, father and mother and wife are heartbroken and bowed down with grief over his sudden death, and they have the sympathy of all in their bereavement. I had so many questions. You have questions, right?
Yes.
Tell us some of your questions, Sandy. Like, I see them on your face.
He was in a stupor, but he was dead.
Right?
Like what is a stupor in that scenario?
I think he was unconscious, but was he bleeding in the back of the car?
Where did his ear go?
Well, it was there. It was barely hanging on. Like, we're grabbing our ears because this is so weird. So, I mean, too. I had a lot of questions. Who beat up this man? Why were there 2 inquests?
Did he get out and get in a fight, and then they put him back in the car?
Like, that's what, right? So let me just, why did the inquest decide he died of alcohol poisoning when he's got all these injuries, right?
Yeah.
So I went down a rabbit hole. I looked in our papers. I looked in the Fort Dodge papers. I could not find any other references to this guy. I couldn't find the Manson papers online. And then I think it was Tuesday or Wednesday, I remembered that the Rockwell City Library has old newspapers on microfilm. So on Wednesday afternoon, I went to the Rockwell City Library and I found the Manson Journal-Democrat from the same week. And their reporter had the same questions that we did. Now, I do not have the printout of that for you to look at. I do have a printout, but it's kind of in like negative reverse. Microfilm is weird if you've never looked at it. But the headline is, Booze Causes Sunday Tragedy. Again, booze, hooch. I mean, we would just say alcohol.
Right.
But the first line is one that I have never thought to write Exactly. The fatal effect of drinking the booze now being sold was brought forcibly home Sunday forenoon when the word of Alfred Windy Lundbaum's death sometime that morning went through the community. Now the article is pretty long, and has a lot of the same details, but it tells most of the same story. Lundbaum went to Palmer with friends. He wasn't ready to come back to Manson. He said he'd find a ride.
From the traveling man.
From the traveling man. We do get his name in the Manson paper.
Oh, good.
I forget. His last name was Essex. I didn't write it down, but we do get his name. And that they rode together from Palmer to Manson on Saturday night, and Lundbaum left him in the car overnight. So the salesman finds himself in a peculiar position, the Manson paper reported, as he brought Alfred to Manson the night before and left him in the car, expecting that he would sober up and go home before morning. That's the story this guy is telling. He's going to wake up, he'll go find his family. So he comes down in the morning, and he seems to think that Lundbaum is still passed out or asleep, and he goes back in the hotel and asks the hotel owner or an employee there, "Do you know who this is?" And the guy says, "No, I don't," which is weird to me because Manson's not that big.
Yeah.
And so the hotel employee doesn't know. So the salesman decides the guy must be from Palmer, even though he asked for a ride to Manson, from what I understand. And that's where he finds out that he can't get Lundbaum to wake up. That's when the doctor is called. Everyone realizes that Lundbaum isn't passed out. He's dead. I feel like that we would be able to tell the difference, but I have questions. The coroner's inquest happened quickly, and the coroner found a bad bruise on Lundbaum's head. So, and then quoting from the paper again, "It was at first thought that he had met with foul play, but an examination of the wound showed that it was only a bruise, which was accounted for by the fact that he had fallen down a stairway in Palmer."
Okay.
I'm sorry. I shouldn't laugh. I know I shouldn't laugh, but like, is there a more cliched excuse than he fell down the stairs?
He fell down a stair.
Also, wasn't mentioned in the Pocahontas article. So I don't know. This is new information. Whether this contributed to his death or not was not determined, but as his skull was not injured, it is not believed to have had any direct bearing on his death. Okay. I mean, and there were some more details. There were some injury. I think it comes up here later, but there's some injuries come up that the family has questions. The newspaper account turns kind of philosophical, though. "It is a sad story of a wasted life. Alfred Lundbaum was one of the most capable young men in the community, and one who, when sober, was one of the most congenial and likable persons one could wish to know. The pleadings of relatives and friends all went unheeded, and his one desire seemed to be to show how much liquor he could consume." I mean, but remember, he's a veteran of World War I think the man saw some stuff and was probably drinking some demons away, is my guess.
That would make sense.
In a case like this, it is difficult to get all the facts, and while officials have no doubt done all in their power to get to the bottom of the case, a number of things have come to light since the official investigation closed that give a queer turn to the case at least. On an examination of the body, when it was prepared for embalming, it was found that there was a severe bruise on the head, just back of one ear, and that one ear was badly torn. Because of this, his relatives insisted upon a second examination. This examination did not disclose in this examination, the doctors declared that they didn't see any injury to the skull, but when the embalming fluid was injected into the body, certain symptoms were shown that we understand never appear except where there had been a concussion of the brain. So, again, it's 1926. I don't know what an autopsy looks like, but I thought that was interesting. And I don't know who "they" is here, but they also declare that it is believed Alfred Lundbaum was dead before he left Palmer Saturday evening. If there is anything being hidden in regard to this tragic affair, it is being hidden by people who are interested in covering up just what did happen. The more the matter is gone into, the more people believe that something happened at Palmer Saturday evening that officers have not yet found out. This belief is not confined to the people of Manson alone, for good, reliable men from Palmer have expressed a similar belief. Whether the real truth will ever be known, time alone will tell.
I mean, did he fall down the stairs hard enough to tear his ear?
How do you tear your ear off?
Like, Yeah, something's fishy.
Something's fishy. However, we can say 100 years later, I couldn't find anything that said that anyone was ever charged with anything. So they got away with it. If something happened, at first I read the record, or the Pocahontas story, the Pocahontas Democrat story, and I wondered a little bit, like I was trying to read between the lines, like, was this someone who came back from the war and was an alcoholic, and
Right.
the family just was kind of done with him? And I thought maybe they didn't ask enough questions. But then I read the Manson story, and I said they asked questions, and they pushed for that second inquest. Obviously, we're never going to know. They weren't doing a bunch of, forensic tests on him.
Right.
They knew he drank that he'd been out drinking. They knew he had a drinking problem, and they just decided that was it. Yeah. I didn't find a lot of other articles about this family. I did look. I couldn't find out if his wife went back to England, if she ever remarried. She's not buried with him. I Find a Grave stuff, and it didn't seem like she was buried with him. But I don't know. I was not expecting that story.
Yeah.
We've never heard of this.
It feels very unsolved murdery.
Very unsolved murdery, unsolved mysteries, and true crime from a century ago. The Hootch and the booze, man. So I don't know that every week I'm gonna find quite this many gems, but this felt like a really good. This is why I love looking in old newspapers. There are so many of these stories that we have absolutely forgotten. Someone got away with murder in Palmer.
Pretty much.
Is my guess. So,
accidental or whatever, but yeah.
Yeah. And you got to wonder about this traveling salesman. Like,
yeah, just a traveling man.
Yeah.
So it sounds like a horror movie.
It really does. It sounds like it'd be a very good cover if you wanted to be a serial killer in the 1920s. You could just go from town to town, and nobody would really connect the dots. So. All right. So that's it. That's week 1. Thanks everybody for listening. Thanks to Pocahontas Community Hospital for sponsoring us for the month of February. And we look forward to talking with you again next week.